Moldova's election shock. Russia blocked, Europe wins. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we need to talk about an election that might not have made the biggest global headlines, but it is deeply important for the future of Eastern Europe, Russia's influence, and the ongoing tug-of-war between Moscow and the West. I'm talking about Moldova. Now you may be wondering, why Moldova? Why should we care about this small Eastern European country? Well, here's the truth. Moldova is one of those frontline nations, much like Ukraine, Georgia, Azerbaijan, and even Armenia, that is trying to break free from the long shadow of Russian influence. But unlike many others, Moldova has a very peculiar situation. About 1/4 of its territory, a narrow strip of land right along the Ukrainian border known as Transnistria, is still effectively under Russian control. And let me tell you, it looks like the Soviet Union never left. Soviet flags with the hammer and sickle still fly. Military parades still march. On the surface, it looks like communism has survived. But in reality, it's not some ideological dreamland. It's basically a family-run mini-dictatorship, very much like North Korea in miniature. For Russia, however, Transnistria is far more than just a leftover Soviet relic. It is strategically priceless. Think of it like Kaliningrad, another chunk of Russian-controlled land outside Russia's borders. These enclaves give Moscow leverage, military leverage, political leverage, and psychological leverage over the entire region. Reports suggest that Transnistria houses massive Soviet-era stockpiles of weapons and ammunition, decades worth of arms, supposedly ready to be used in any confrontation with NATO. Now, no one knows for sure how functional those weapons still are, but even the possibility that Russia could tap into them keeps Transnistria a constant factor in Eastern European security. So, when Moldova held elections, this was never going to be just about who controls the parliament in Chisinau. This was always going to be framed as a choice, Russia or Europe. And make no mistake, Moscow pulled out every hybrid tool it has to sway the outcome. Disinformation, funding pro-Russian parties, covert influence operations. This was all in play. But the result? Russia lost. Let's break it down. Moldova's political system is a mix of presidential and parliamentary structures. The president is elected directly, but the parliament also plays a crucial role because the prime minister comes out of it. This means that for Moldova's pro-Western president Maia Sandu to really govern effectively, she needs her allies to control parliament as well. And that's exactly what happened. With nearly all votes counted, Sandu's Party of Action and Solidarity, PAS, secured almost 51% of the vote. That translated into 55 out of 101 seats in parliament, an outright majority. This was a huge deal. Polls before the election had suggested PAS would remain influential, but might not win a clear majority. There was doubt, there was uncertainty, but on election night, those doubts were crushed. Sandu and her allies now have the mandate and the numbers to push forward a clear, pro-European agenda. On the other side, the pro-Russian bloc led by former President Igor Dodon, a man often described as carrying deep Soviet nostalgia, managed only about 24–25% of the vote. Barely half of what Sandu's party achieved. That's not just a loss, it's a humiliation for Moscow. And Europe noticed. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen declared, "Moldova has done it again. No attempt to spread fear or division will break your determination. You made your choice clear. Europe, democracy, freedom. Our doors are open and we will be at your side every step of the way." French President Emmanuel Macron echoed the sentiment. Despite pressure and interference, the will of the Moldovan people has been expressed strongly. France stands firmly with Moldova in its European path, its freedom, and its sovereignty. Meanwhile, Moldovan officials accused Russia of funneling billions of dollars into pro-Kremlin parties, trying to buy votes, spreading anti-Western propaganda, and inflaming division. None of it worked. This is where things get even more interesting. Russia, as we've seen in Ukraine, is not fighting a conventional war alone. Moscow has embraced what strategists call hybrid warfare. This includes cyber attacks, disinformation, manipulation of elections, use of energy as a weapon, financial influence, and military pressure, all at the same time. Moldova was the latest battlefield for this hybrid war. But this time, the Kremlin was blocked. Western intelligence sources even told British media that Moscow now views Moldova as its second most important foreign policy priority, after Ukraine. That shows just how critical this small country has become in the great game between Russia and the West. And now, with Sandu's victory, it's clear that the path toward Europe is open, for now. Let's be real though. This isn't the end of the story. Russia never accepts defeat lightly. It may have lost the battle, but it will continue to probe, undermine, and destabilize Moldova through every tool at its disposal. But this election result does matter. It signals to the entire region that Moscow's grip is loosening. It shows that, despite the propaganda, despite the intimidation, people in Eastern Europe can and will choose Europe, freedom and democracy, over authoritarianism and nostalgia for the Soviet past. It also highlights something bigger. Russia is running out of road when it comes to its westward ambitions. With Ukraine resisting, with Georgia leaning westward, with Armenia even reconsidering its ties, and now Moldova choosing Europe, the Kremlin's vision of a sphere of influence stretching across Eastern Europe is collapsing. No wonder Russian state media reacted cautiously, reporting the results, but avoiding deep commentary. The Kremlin knows this was a major strategic setback, even if it doesn't want to say it out loud. So, what happens next? For Moldova, the challenges are enormous. The country is poor, politically fragile, and constantly under pressure from Russia. Integrating with Europe will not be easy. Corruption remains a problem. Energy dependence on Russia is still a vulnerability. And Transnistria is still there, a frozen conflict waiting to thaw. But at least for now, Moldova has made a bold statement. It is choosing Europe, choosing freedom, and choosing a future away from Moscow's shadow. And for Russia, this is yet another reminder that brute force, propaganda, and hybrid war cannot always dictate outcomes. Sometimes people really do push back. Friends, this is a story that deserves far more global attention than it's getting. Because Moldova is not just a small country making a local choice. Moldova is a front line in the global clash between authoritarian power and democratic resilience. And the results of this election show that even under immense pressure, the democratic side can win. So, what do you think? Is Moldova really on the path to Europe, or will Moscow find a way to pull it back? Will Russia double down on hybrid tactics, or is this a turning point for the region? Let's talk about it in the comments. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into global politics, elections, and the hidden battles shaping our world. And of course, hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.